Hello and welcome back to the Valencia Property Podcast. It's the only podcast that hasn't been sponsored by Spotify's filthy lucre, and it's the only podcast known to mankind that isn't sponsored by HelloFresh, NordVPN, Shopify or ShipStation. Yes, the truly independent Valencia Property Podcast doesn't rely on you signing up to our Patreon. You cannot support us by buying us a coffee or two and coffee, or with super chats on YouTube. Just listen and enjoy. And maybe buy a house after with us. We have an interview for you all about insurance today. I know, exciting, right? But it's actually very useful. For all of you planning to come here and using any visa, especially if you're outside the EU, then you'll need private health insurance, and it needs to be accepted by the embassy for your visa application. It's a specific type of insurance. So today, we'll guide you through the process of getting it. And at the same time, if and when you need other insurances, you'll know where to go because Diana from Gidea Insurance, our interviewee today, has your back. Before you listen to that though, let's take a look at what's been going on in Valencia property land in the last month and what we have to look forward to. The first quarter of the year is over and we've had a frankly ridiculous number of signings, especially in the last week of March, where I spent more time with the notary than I did with my family. Now, some might say that's a good thing, above all members of my family perhaps, whereas others may think it's unhealthy to spend so much time in one place. But I'm sure that depends on the place you spend so much time in, and the notary was a relatively nice place to spend that time. Over the last month, we've been writing, uploading, and meeting potential clients. Lots of those potential clients became actual clients, and I think the next month we'll start a series of client interviews telling you why people came here, the process they went through, and what they bought. If you're one of our previous clients and are listening to this and you'd like to be featured, then let me know. On the blog, we've written various articles that were very useful this month. Well, I'm bound to say that, aren't I? I write them. We started the month with an article about value for money on luxury properties in Valencia and how they compare with other places in the world. Quite a bit of eye candy in that one, so it's worth taking a look and clicking through to the properties themselves to get an idea of how the other half live. Or, if you're selling a small bedsit in London, Amsterdam, New York or San Francisco, for example, how you could live here. Next, we went with our Valencia Property Fire Survival Guide, which is more than the simple advice to get out of Valencia during fires. It also includes a lot of the things and events you can find during fires, but remember, that's now disappeared for this year, and you have to wait until March next year. The next article was about how property is valued in Spain, the different methods, why there are different methods, and what they mean for you as a buyer or seller of property here. And one thing that's very important is if the valuation from the bank is lower than the price you're paying, that means nothing to the seller. They're not going to redo the price just to come down to what the bank says because the bank uses something called the comparative method. And the comparative method values a property by comparing it with things that have recently been sold. So in a rising market, generally the comparative method gives lower than asking price. The next article was all about how to navigate those cultural differences you will find when buying property here in Spain, what not to do, what you should do, and how to react to things that happen in the process. As usual, we just say at this point, get used to it, allow us to guide you. We know what we're doing. Finally, and possibly most importantly, we talked about how the times they are changing and what you need to do to get ready. The market is much tighter than the screws that held the Titanic together, tighter than my Uncle Joe, whose wallet was rumoured to have never seen daylight, and tighter than your average photo finish in a 60-metre sprint race. You need to adapt to survive in a market like that, and that means being ready to buy if that is your intention. In terms of property this month, we uploaded a lot of new stuff onto the website, but actually not as many as we would like, and things we uploaded in many cases sold really quickly. We'll continue to keep trying to get as many great properties onto the site as we can, but don't expect a deluge. There's not that much for sale. This is what we're talking about when we say the market's tight. And in the market, what happened? Oh yeah, the golden visa finished for good. No more lovely golden visa. In the last week before the end, on the 3rd of April, we had 3 people over to make sure they got theirs and 2 buying for the golden visa. In our latest article in April, I talked about people making mistakes and potentially a couple of people not getting their golden visa despite having bought property over the value of $500,000. And of course, you can read that in the show notes if you want to find out more. We also talked about the importance of setting your rate when transferring money from a different currency, and gave a cautionary tale of someone where a certain Mango Mussolini, the Satsuma Stalin, has cost them a lot of money thanks to the tariff debacle. Enjoying that, Raymond? There's plenty more Valencia property goodness all across the blog, and it really should be the start of your Valencia property journey too. When you're doing your own research, you really don't need to look more further, and you definitely don't need to go down a YouTube rabbit hole, which ends with you believing every conspiracy theory ever invented, including our friend, birds don't exist. Now, onto the insurance section. I interviewed Diana from Gidea Insurance Brokers all about why you should be using a broker to get your insurance. You can get your own insurance in the show notes. Okay, today we're talking to Diana from Gidea. Do we pronounce it like that?
Yeah, Gidea Insbrok is our site, insbrok.com. So it's Gidea Gestion, yes.
Okay, so Gidea is a provider of insurance for people who need the Go visa previously and now need the non-lucrative visa or digital nomad visa or something like that. So first, Diana, tell us about yourself. What brought you to be working in Gidea?
Well, I've always worked in international environments, and helping people is one of the things that I like most in life. So I really like this job because my aim is to help people get their health insurance coverage that is going to be visa comparable, and then I help them on the move to Spain.
And that's very important, it's visa comparable, because not all insurance is visa comparable, right?
Yes.
So anyway, Gidea Insbrok is not an insurance company, it's a broker. So why would you go to a broker rather than directly to an insurance company?
So if you go to an insurance company directly, you are just accessing that one insurance company instead of going to a broker or international service provider like we are, that will offer you all the options in the market, and we will do the homework for you. We will look at all the options and make sure that they are visa compatible, that they are good for your profile, they are good for your family, they are good for wherever you are going to be living in. So there's many things that you have to take into account. And it is quite important to be assessed by people that know what they are doing.
Yeah, because it's not always the same company that you recommend, obviously.
Of course not, no. It will depend on the profile of the person.
Yeah. So how many different insurance companies do you work with, more or less?
Well, we work with all the companies in the market.
And
because
how many are there? Roughly?
10, 12?
12?
Yeah, but I mean, the main ones are maybe 4. But we do work with all of them because we are owners of an insurance brokerage company. And so we have access to all of them. But we will always find the ones that are better for international clients, where they do have international speaking team that they can help them as well. And maybe the mobile apps are in English as well. So we're going to take into account the client's profile.
Yeah, because not all insurance companies have people who speak English.
No.
And most of our clients speak English, as you know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
So what are the main requirements to be met in order to get the Spanish visa? So we're talking about any sort of visa, but the student visa, non-lucrative visa, digital nomad visa. What are the main requirements that people need in their insurance?
Okay, it's going to be a full coverage unlimited policy with no co-payments, no deductible, no waiting period, and repatriation coverage.
Okay, I've got one question about that. You said no deductible.
Yeah.
Now, what is that? Americans know, because in the States, it's like you pay the first 10,000 and then they'll pay the rest.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a deductible. Is there anything else that you need to know about it?
No, I mean, what they need to know is that here what we use is a full coverage policy. This means you pay nothing. So you just show your card and that's all.
Okay, what about prescriptions? If you've got prescriptions for drugs, you do pay something, yeah?
You do pay for, prescriptions and drugs are paid for, but because it is quite accessible. Prices are not super high. So in order to get those, you go to the doctor, you get a prescription, and then you go to the pharmacy and buy them yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's one example I always like to use, which is the price of an inhaler, because a lot of people use inhalers. And I know for a fact, because I bought one last week, it's €4 for a ventilator inhaler.
Exactly.
Now, I know in the States, it's over $100.
Yeah, wow.
Saving.
Really? Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. How do people apply in order to get their insurance?
Okay, now it's very simple. They go to our quoting site. They introduce all the required details. They answer all the questions. They do not need to have a Spanish bank account or a Spanish address or Spanish ID. They will respond to the basic health questions, and then our team will assess the profile and send them 1 to 4 medical options based on their profile there might be just one option
Mhm.
or more. And then we will send them only visa compatible options. In that case, they can, whenever they receive the quote, they can just choose from the options received or make a video consultation with myself or someone from the team that will assess them personally if they have more questions. And then just whenever they are ready to pay, just click on the payment button and then follow the application and pay by credit card, by transfer, or that's it. Yeah.
Is it normal to have a video consultation beforehand rather than just filling in a form and that's it?
Both are good because some people don't need more information. I mean, they are happy with whatever we have provided and they are just searching for price or they are searching for service. Like we send them the quote with all the information.
Yeah.
So some people do want to have a video consultation and some others don't.
People who want a video consultation, maybe those who've got like illnesses that
Yeah.
already, you know,
For existing conditions that worry them and that they want to make sure that they will get coverage and all that. But we do have coverage for everyone, but everything is going to be based on their profile.
and obviously the prices depend on the profile, their age, and
Yeah.
different things.
Many things, yeah.
Do they get certificates? What do they get? How do they actually? Well, for example, they come to Spain and they want to go to the doctors. How do they do it?
Okay. Well, first of all, for the visa application, they will get a certificate that they need to present at the embassy or consulate for the, okay? And then once they are in Spain, we'll ask them to provide us with their address and we will send them the cards, which they may also have at their phone with the mobile app of the company.
And they just use those cards at the doctors.
Exactly. So they just search on the medical chart, like the medical network of the company, and see what the closest doctor is, make an appointment, and then show a card. It is always very important for people that just arrived here, just make sure that the hospital, the clinic of the doctor does work with the company.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because some people just go to any hospital and you cannot go to a public hospital, which we don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because you'll be in the queue.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you go to a private hospital within the medical network,
Mhm.
just show the card and that's it.
You mentioned about certificates and you
Yes.
send a certificate beforehand.
Yeah.
And this means that people have to actually pay for the thing before they can actually use it because it's while they are in the process of getting the visas, that they need it because they need to show they already have coverage,
Exactly. At the visa appointment, they will need to prove a full year has been paid in advance. So we will provide them with a certificate when a payment has been received, as long as it is in time and form, because it will depend on the company. Some companies will issue a certificate 30 days prior to the start date, and some others 90 days prior to the start date. But we will inform them at all points. I mean,
So when they arrive in Spain,
Yeah.
it's already working. So for example, if they have an accident in the airport arriving, they can immediately go to a hospital.
yeah, from the very first day, is with no waiting periods. So whatever happens to anyone that has coverage with us, the very first day they arrive in Spain, they have full coverage with no waiting periods and they can receive surgery or whatever they need.
Okay. What about renewals at the end of the first year?
Okay, now in Spain, insurance policies renew automatically on annual basis. This means if you do not contact the company to ask for a cancellation, the policy will be renewed.
Mhm.
And this is also a way to protect clients because otherwise you can find yourself unprotected here. So if you do want to cancel your policy, you need to inform us in writing at least 30 days prior to the renewal date.
What I found useful is last year you actually rang me up and you said, Graham, there's going to be a renewal of your insurance, but they put the price up a lot.
Yeah.
So do you want us to look for a different company? And you did, and you found us a different company,
We
which was more or less the same price as the first one, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was better coverage because that's what we do. We are always, because we have so many clients.
That's good to have a broker then because the insurance company will just put your price up because they
Exactly.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't. I mean, when we think is excessive, which can happen, we just contact our clients and tell them, listen, this is going to happen. We don't think this is a good idea. Let's find alternatives. We also invite clients, if they find a cheaper option somewhere else, to tell us. Because sometimes you find a cheaper option, but it's not good for you.
Yeah.
And then you are wasting your time. So, I mean, we have access to all the options, we can just have a look at for you.
I remember some years back at my wife's school, I can't remember which company it was, but suddenly all of the hospitals wouldn't work with that company.
That's great.
Yeah, exactly. So they had to change the whole I think there's 150 staff at my wife's school or something, and they all got changed to a different company because of that.
That is important to make sure that the coverage is wherever you are living. But for some people, they get upset. I mean, it has happened to me that someone is living in a very small village in the middle of nowhere in Andalusia. And they are like, well, there's no hospital here. And I said, yeah, okay, but is there an actual hospital? Like, it's not that this company is not offering coverage. It's that no hospital exists in your area. But it is good to check the medical network beforehand or ask us, but we will only offer clients options where there is a hospital nearby.
And I think the good option around here in Valencia is that it's not just Valencia city. So if you're buying a place outside, I don't live in the city.
Yeah.
And the nearest clinic is 5 minutes away from the house.
Yeah. Hospital, I mean, because here we have many hospitals everywhere.
Yeah.
And Spain has hospitals mostly everywhere. And the companies we work with have quite a good coverage. So you won't find yourself uncovered in a... It is quite complicated to find yourself uncovered.
Yeah. Let's go back to pre-existing conditions. Yes. Let's say somebody has, for example, had a cancer and has been given the all clear. What do the insurance companies look at, and will they cover that person?
Okay, if that person has had the all clear, after 6 years, they are considered as not having a pre-existing condition. But the company will require to, I mean, they will have to inform, of course, and they will have to provide a medical report confirming the all clear, and then the insurance company will...
Well, you mentioned that 6 years. What happens, for example, if somebody's got the all clear and says, right, I'm going to change my life now, I'm going to go and live in Spain.
Okay.
Yeah? What happens to them?
That's going to be a bit tricky, but we would send all the information to the company or to the companies, because we will only send them the companies that we think that they might be able to cover them. And then the same, they will ask for a medical report and then decide on what can be offered for them. There might be some exclusion.
Yeah. Well, the most important thing is the one about the medicines, isn't it? Because even with these things, you are paying for the medicines anyway. So
exactly.
You need to know the price of the medicines, really, rather than
That's true.
coverage. Yeah?
But of course, like in-hospital medicines are included. Only out-hospital are not included. That's important.
Okay, in terms of timings, therefore, when should the insurance start when you're applying for a non-lucrative visa? Now, this is a difficult question because it takes... We always say, if you're going to apply for a non-lucrative visa, and let's say somebody was coming over, we're talking in April now. If somebody says they were coming over in September, we'd say, well, don't start the process until about June.
Correct.
Yeah?
Yes.
Because it takes about 3 months, usually. Some embassies are quicker, some are slower, but it takes about 3 months. So if you apply now, you'll get your approval in, let's say, June or July, and then you've got a limited time to establish residency here after. So when do you think that insurance, or they should start looking at getting insurance? How many months before they get it?
Well, I would say 90 days, like 3 months in advance. Will be
same time as starting the process.
Yeah. Looking.
Yeah.
But then the last thing you have to purchase is health insurance.
Yeah.
So start looking 90 days. And then when you have everything else, then you can apply for health insurance.
Yeah. So you get your police report,
exactly.
like that. You can do your fingerprints and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then get a health insurance. Because otherwise you're paying for 3 months when you're not using it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And then the health insurance, normally what we advise is to always ask your advisor or embassy or the embassy or consulate. But normally it should be based on your entrance in Spain. So it should be in place wherever you are planning on entering the country. Yeah. But certificates need to be shown at the appointment. So you need to work out the timings, and our team will help you. But it's always better to talk to your advisor because they will know better. Like, we know about health insurance and they know about legal things. So we'll work together and then work out the best option.
Okay. The next thing is quite important. You mentioned earlier on about not needing a Spanish bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah. We always say to people, you need a Spanish bank account.
You do.
So when they first get the health insurance, obviously they are not here, so they haven't got a Spanish bank account.
Correct.
But then they generally will get it for everyday things.
Yeah.
How easy is it to change the direct debit from the original account into the Spanish account?
Super easy. They only need to contact our support team and then provide their IBAN number, and that's it.
That's very easy, yeah?
Super easy, yes. I mean,
in other countries it's not, eh?
Really?
Yeah, in other countries it's really difficult. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, they just need to provide the IBAN number and then that's it. Of course, it needs to be after the first year.
Yeah.
Because the first year has been already paid.
Exactly.
But what we do is we ask clients to confirm, like as soon as they move to Spain, just to confirm address, telephone number, and IBAN number, and their NIES. Because once they are here, they won't use their passport any longer.
Exactly.
So it is better to change everything and then become a Spanish, like do as we all do.
Yeah. Are there any additional benefits or services that Insbrok or Gidea offers to the clients?
Well, as owners of a brokerage company, we can offer all insurance products in the market with the higher standards. And we have our claims department that will help them, our support department in English that will help them, and we will deal with everything. So they don't need to they don't need to contact the company when they have a problem. They can contact us.
So here's the question. For example, they get here and they decide to buy a car insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Car
They
insurance.
buy a house insurance?
Yes.
Basically all the insurances they can want.
Yes, exactly. Life insurance, car
They
insurance.
decide to go climbing, dangerous sports insurance.
We have that as well.
Right, okay.
And another important thing that I would always advise to get is travel insurance, like a 1 year annual pack, because it's really good because you can travel as much as you want. And we have policies that will cover you up to 2.5 million euro per person.
Mhm.
And they are really affordable.
So that's like a visit to a doctor in the States.
That's
Like here, it covers everything.
Exactly. That's why I tell my clients to do that, because it is important that whenever you travel back home, if you are from the US, you are covered for accidents and emergencies.
Mhm.
And with this policy, is great.
Okay. A question about refunds.
Yeah.
Right? Because is it possible to get a refund? For example, somebody is in the process of getting the
Yeah.
visa and they pay for the insurance.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, the visa is not allowed and it's cancelled. Would they be able to get a refund on that?
Full refund, because it's not their fault. I mean, if the visa is denied, they need to send us legal proof of denial, and then we will deal with the cancellation with a full refund. But I say full refund, but what if you inform us after 1 month?
2 months or 3 during the process, yeah.
Well, you need to pay for the months that you've been covered for. But cancellation can only be done in case of visa denial, because once you've presented the documents,
Mhm.
we have informed the embassy or consulate that you are covered for a full year.
Yeah.
So it cannot be cancelled.
Because traditionally in Spain, once you've paid a full year of insurance and let's say you stop it for whatever reason, you don't get a refund.
Yeah, exactly. People ask us that a lot, but no, in Spain you do not get a refund because the police in the company have already invested in you, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And finally, therefore, what are the tips for getting the best insurance? And I know the last thing is use us, but what are the tips for getting the best insurance?
Well, make sure to find the correct advisor.
That's you, yeah?
Yeah, that's us. And then and someone that really knows what they are doing. We are experts on health insurance for visa applications.
Well, that's an interesting question. What nationalities do you normally deal with for this?
Well, I mean, I have to say 90% of our clients are Americans, but we have people from New Zealand, from England. Well, now even more from England. And we'd say mainly from the US, but most of our clients are English-speaking clients.
But it's basically people outside the European Union, yeah?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that because of the visa option.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because obviously when you get the visa, you need the insurance to go along with it. So everyone has to get it. So it's probably best to get it from somewhere which gives you a better option. Yeah.
Yeah, and because we are experts on that, so we know what we are doing. We are always in touch with embassies, consulates, with legal advisors. So we are learning with them because things change every day, as you know.
Yes.
Exactly. So as things change, we change and we modify our agreements with the companies, so that we get, because our policies are made to measure for our clients. So we make sure to have always what they need, and then to evolve with them.
Thanks for that, Diana. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can just go to our link, insbrok.com.
Yeah, we'll have it in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they can just also go to our website and then make a video consultation with myself, or just follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or just ask you as well.
Yeah.
Maybe you can.
Yeah, we put people in touch with you. But it's important because people who don't use our services but are coming to Spain, maybe they're going to Andalusia, listen to the podcast anyway. So,
Yeah.
It might be that you're never going to speak with me, but it might be
Exactly.
worth speaking with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Diana from Gidea Insbrok.com.
Perfect. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, just that we have a wonderful team that speak English much better than me. and they are and our aims just to make sure that our clients feel relaxed in this troubled because moving to another country is sometimes confusing.
It's similar to us. We try to make it as easy
Exactly.
as possible. It's
Exactly.
like underneath we're paddling like ducks, but it looks really smooth to people from
Exactly. Yeah, that's all, and that we collaborate with amazing people like yourself.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Diana.
Thank you very much.
And that's it for the latest Valencia Property Podcast then. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to click on the links in the show notes to read more, and if you have any questions, send them to us and we'll answer them on information@valencia-property.com. Until next time, speak soon. And remember, we're not going to take you out with a load of adverts from HelloFresh and NordVPN and ShipStation. We don't need adverts.